Week 6 is officially in the books, and now it's time for us to recap it. It was another crazy week. A lot of games that we were expecting to be entertaining weren't, and some unexpected games ended up being some of the best games this week. One thing can stand consistent from week to week is the amount of players getting injured. Again, I want to send prayers to all those players. Hopefully they have a good and speedy recovery. And another thing staying consistent is the Jets. Sticking to that 0-16 streak, man. I know they're going to pull it off. But before we get into all that, I just want to take this time and say thank you to everybody that showed this massive support on the last video. If you haven't already, make sure you check it out and drop your thoughts below on it, man. And if you can, you're feeling a little generous, just drop a like on it. But enough time wasting with that, let's go ahead and jump into these games. Starting off with the Houston Texans taking on the Tennessee Titans. This is a nice shootout between two division rivals, where Watson and Tannehill both tossed for 4 touchdowns apiece. But the player of this game was grown man Derrick Henry. After banishing Josh Norman on Tuesday Night Football, he continued his punishment on the Houston Texans for 212 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, which also included a 94-yard touchdown run. The Texans were up by 7 points at the end of the fourth quarter, and Tannehill tossed a great pass to A.J. Brown, sending this game into overtime where Henry took over. The Titans moved down to the goal line with ease, and King Henry finished off the game with a direct snap and barreled his way into the end zone, finishing off the game. The Titans pull off a 42-36 victory in overtime, and they move on to 5-0, and the Texans drop to 1-5. The Titans look like they might be the real deal between them and the Steelers. I knew both these teams would be pretty good, but wasn't expecting the Titans to pull off 40 points in back-to-back games. So, like I said, good win by the Titans. Moving on from there, we have the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Indianapolis Colts, where the Bengals jumped out to a 21 unanswered point lead. But in the second quarter, the Colts fought back, putting up 21 points of their own, going to halftime only down 24-21. Now in the second half, the Colts defense went to work and only allowed 3 points in the entire half, and the Colts get the come from behind win 31-27, with Rivers having a big day for 371 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I've been talking a lot about how that offense just hasn't matched the Colts defense, but they came alive this week. But it was against that Bengals defense, so I don't know how much stock to put into that. Hopefully they can keep up, that amount of work on offense. But the Colts move on to 4-2, and the Bengals drop to 1-4-1. On from there, we have another game that went completely the opposite of how I was expecting it to go. The Atlanta Falcons taking on the Minnesota Vikings. If I was Mike Zimmer, I wouldn't have allowed Kirk Cousins to go back to the locker room at halftime. I would have asked him to remove his jersey, remove his cleats and his helmet and his shoulder pads on the field, and told him to go home. 3 first-half interceptions against this Falcons secondary? Are you serious? How much are we paying you, Kirk? Don't expect a game check this week, and I don't want to see you until next week. Get it together, man. Seriously. Now, once again, on the other side of the ball, we see what happens when you get rid of a head coach that's been dragging your team down. They come out and look alive for the second time, in the last 2 weeks. The Falcons win big, putting up 40 points, 10 points in each quarter, I should add. And Julio Jones having a huge day with 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. All in all, man, good we'll win by the Falcons, but let's be real, both of these teams suck. The Denver Broncos beat the Patriots off the foot of Brandon McManus, 18-12. A lot of key players from each team returned this week to play in this game, but it didn't matter because it was literally no offense performed in this entire game. Like I said, Brandon McManus won this game, and both offenses just looked absolutely terrible. And I think Cam Newton just can't beat the Broncos for whatever reason. But like I said, this game was not really that entertaining. Mostly a defensive battle, and I don't even know if I want to call it. I don't even know if it was the defenses that just put on this type of performance, or if it was just both offenses just looking that bad, not a sync. But all in all, a win is a win. I wasn't even expecting the Broncos to be in this game, but they pull off the W, man. So hopefully that's some momentum for them moving forward. But like I said, weird game, man. The Washington football team lose to the Giants 19-20. I fully expected the Giants to blow Washington out, but a win is a win. Washington had a chance at the end of the game to tie the game up, but they decided to go for 2 and ended up losing by 1 point. If they would have just went for the field goal and sent us overtime, maybe things could have turned out a little different, because towards the end of the game, Kyle Allen was able to start moving the ball against that Giants defense. But all in all, man, this was just a sloppy game, and the Giants are now officially part of the NFC East race. This division looks absolutely terrible, and they combine for the entire division. Every team in this division combined for 5 wins and like 30 losses, and I think a tie. So, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes 6 wins to win this division. Also, C.J. Boyd went out in this game. He suffered a terrible neck injury. I'm not too sure on the details of that, but if we have any updates on it, I'll let you guys know. But like I said, I just hope that guy has a good and speedy recovery. But like I said, man, the NFC East is pretty bad. On from there, we had the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, the Ravens were up big in this game, even going into the fourth quarter, and just started blowing the lead, and only won this game by 2 points, 30-28. I'm sorry. And if I'm a Ravens fan, I would have some concern about the way that defense has been playing lately, especially with the Steelers offense looking the way it's been looking lately. Like I said, I have some real concerns, but they have some things to clean up. Lamar Jackson had a great game, and his receivers have to start stepping up because he's pretty much carrying his team at this point. But all in all, good win by the Ravens, and the Eagles add on to that laundry list of injuries that they continue to pile up every week. Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders both went out with injuries. I don't think it's nothing major to keep them out for the rest of the season. So, like I said, it'd be huge if they can get those guys back because, like I said, it won't take much effort to win this division. So, they need all hands on deck. But on to another team that we all thought supposedly was supposed to be the real deal, and they come out and get their doors blown off by the Pittsburgh Steelers 38-7, and that's the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield looked like straight trash in this game, and honestly, in my opinion, I think after this season, it might be time for the Browns to start looking into maybe a veteran quarterback that still has some talent, or just, I don't see them drafting a quarterback, but they have to do something because the more this guy has to throw the ball, the higher risk it is for him to turn the ball over and the Browns to end up losing this game. We know the Browns are a running team, and when the Browns are not able to run the ball and you have to put the ball into the hands of Baker Mayfield, that's trouble, man. So, maybe the Browns were phony so far this season. Like I said, all their wins came off teams that aren't that great, with the exception of the Colts team that has a great defense. But again, that offense hasn't really lived up to that, what their record says anyway. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns end up going 8-8. But I'm not going to put a plug on them just yet. I'm going to give them a few more weeks before I really just decide to write them off as phony so far. But on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. This team looked like they might be the best team in the league. That defense is absolutely disgusting, and this offense has been on fire lately. And they didn't even have to work that hard in this game. Chase Claypool is a monster, and that Pittsburgh running offense we already know how that goes every season. But in this game, the Steelers did lose a big piece of their defense with Devin Bush going out and with an injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the season. So, hopefully that young man gets has a good recovery. Again, prayers up. It sucks, man. Every week we see these injuries just continue to pile up. So, like I said, hopefully he has a good recovery and can return to form next season. But like I said, the Steelers, if I had a power ranking, I think I would have them up there at number 1. So up next is a game that it's really not too much to talk about in this one. But the Bears beating the Panthers 23-16. That Bears defense is back to smothering offenses, and Carolina could not get anything going on offense all game. But that was somewhat expected. Chicago's offense still is looking really inconsistent, but they did just enough to get the job done. But we all know that that's not going to cut it. In this league where points comes easily. So the Bears have to work on that offense, but they moved to 5-1, and I think they're in the lead of the division with that win. And the Panthers dropped to 3-3. And up next, the other game is another one that's not really much to say about. The Detroit Lions beat the Jaguars 34-16. The Lions showed up to play today, and Patricia shaved his job for another week, unfortunately. But the Jags are a rebuilding team. It's back-to-back weeks that they haven't really looked too good. But like I said, this team isn't very good. So, like I said, man, good win by the Lions. And up next, the Miami Dolphins shut out the New York Jets 24-0. The Jets' road to 0-16 continues, and Adam Gase just continues to be the head coach of this team. I mean, what more can I say? And like I said, if you haven't checked out our last video, you will see my thoughts on that. But Tua got his first NFL action of his career, completing 2 passes. And at the end of the game, he came back out to the field and soaked it all in. So, it's nice to see the young man get him some action, even though if it wasn't very much. And from what I've seen, Tua is supposed to be the starter going into next week. So, really exciting to see that. Like I said, nothing much to say. The Jets are a joke. And honestly, if I didn't have to talk about every team, I wouldn't even speak on this team anymore. But anyway, on from there, the Packers lose big to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 38-10. This was a game that I was expecting to be a shootout, but that Tampa defense, I know I'm a Saints fan and I try not to be biased, but I have to be honest, that Tampa Bay defense looks like a championship caliber defense, man. That secondary still can be shredded, but it doesn't matter if that front seven is in your face the entire game. Rodgers wasn't able to get comfortable at all in this game. Like, they had him off rhythm for the entire game, which is weird because when it started off for the first drive, you're thinking like, oh, the Packers might just run away with it. But it was all downhill from there. Like I said, Gronk had a big game coming out since his biggest game since coming out of retirement with 5 catches and a touchdown. And I just want to say, Brady last week, I gave him a pass for not shaking Nick Foles' hands after the game, saying, it's a pandemic. Maybe he didn't feel too comfortable about that. But, he was in a huge hurry to get to the middle of the field to shake hands in this week. Brady's a dick, by the way. But anyways, this was a really impressive win by the Bucs. The offense didn't even have to work hard for it because that defense was literally shutting down everything the Packers tried on offense. So again, impressive win. The Bucs move on to 4-2. We have to wait till next week to see what the Saints do, to see how that division starts playing out. And with this loss, I believe the Packers fall 1 game under the Chicago Bears. So like I said, this wasn't even as exciting as we were hoping it to be. Neither quarterback had to do pretty much anything. And I might add, Rodgers had his worst game, I think one of his worst games of his career, with 2 interceptions and no touchdowns. So just like I said, that Bucs defense is legit. So nothing much really more to say about that one. But I do have a few things to say about this one. The Rams lose to the 49ers 24-16. This game went the exact opposite of what I was expecting, because after last week, I thought Jimmy Garoppolo just hit a wall and just fell completely off. But apparently in that game, he was still injured. He had a great game this week, tossing 3 touchdowns, basically the complete opposite of what he did last week. And the Rams just looked completely flat. All defense just looked completely flat all game. Wow. I lost my train of thought. But like I said, the Rams, they had no answer for that defense. Even the 49ers defense stepped up this week, and they look good. So it's looking like the 49ers are returning to their form from last season and are starting to win some games, which they have to do ASAP, because like I said, the Seahawks is not slowing down, and the Rams already, had a good record to begin with. So all in all, it was an impressive win, and it's good to see that Jimmy G don't suck like I thought he did after last week. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that game. So let's just move right on into our Monday night matchups, where the Chiefs beat the Bills 26-17. The Bills defense is in trouble. I know I said last week that once they get Trey White back, they'll be just fine, but I'm not sure that's the case. They look pretty bad. Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushed for 161 yards. Just insane. Like, I mean, everybody was talking about how he's been struggling since week 1, and he came out against this defense of all defenses and just went off. Mahomes, not even a big Mahomes day, 21 for 26, 225 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. It really didn't take too much. The Bills just, again, they looked flat on offense. They wasn't able to get too much going. Josh Allen threw 2 touchdowns and an interception. He was their leading rusher as well. So I still think the Bills are a playoff team, because I don't see who in their division will knock them off. But if they don't clean up a lot of things on that team, it's going to be a real problem moving forward, especially once they get into the playoffs. Because this is back-to-back weeks where they just look completely outmatched. So the schedule gets a little easier from here. Hopefully they can take that time, and clean some things up, because this Bills team does not look like the team I was expecting them to look like since last week. So not a lot to say about that one. I was expecting the Chiefs to win this game, but I did expect the Bills to look a little better than they did. So like I said, hopefully They clean some things up because this defense is clearly not the same defense from last season. And our last game of week 6 is the Arizona Cardinals against the Dallas Cowboys, where the Cardinals beat the Cowboys 38-10. This is a game that in the first quarter, it seemed like, okay, the Cowboys defense is going to step up. We're going to get a close game. And it went all downhill from there, like immediately. The first quarter ended with both teams tied up at 0 apiece. But then the Cardinals went on to score 21 points in the second quarter alone. And Dallas were only able to put up 3 points. And it pretty much stayed that way into the fourth quarter, with the lead getting as big as 31-3 at one point. And Dallas put together a touchdown drive pretty much in garbage time of this game. Again, the NFC East is terrible this season. I do think if Dak was able to play in this game, I think it would have been a little closer because, I mean, even when the Cowboys been going down in games, at least Dak goes out and starts to attempt to come back. Andy Dalton just did not get that done. And again, another team that didn't even have to try that hard on offense to get the win. Kyler Murray, Jesus, what's wrong with my mouth today? Kyler Murray only completed 9 passes for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kenyon Drake had a huge game, 20 carries for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Christian Kirk had 2 receptions for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, it didn't even take much. They were just gashing them for big plays on pretty much every drive on offense. So we knew this Dallas defense was bad going into this game, but I did think that they could take advantage of a Cardinals defense it's not great, but it's not like it's a lockdown defense to where they shouldn't have been able to put up points. But apparently the Cardinals just wanted it more, obviously, and it's still, again, it hurts the Cowboys that they lost Dak. Because like I said, I do think if Dak was to play in this game, it would have been a lot closer. But yeah, man, like I said, good win by the Cardinals. They move on to 4-2. And this division it's been another one it's been pretty good to watch. They've been keeping things close. Even though I do think the Cardinals is the weakest team in this division, they're still not a pushover. So I think that's probably the most entertaining division to watch as far as the NFC side of things goes. It's obviously the AFC North and the AFC. So with that, that's all we really have for week 6. Again, it was another weird one. Only thing, like I said, that's been staying consistent from week to week is the amount of players that's getting injured every week, and the Jets just continue to look like complete garbage. But I do want to introduce something new to the show. I want to give a shout out to some of the best performances this past week, starting off with Derrick Henry. Like I said, 212 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, which included his 94-yard touchdown run. Julio Jones, 8 receptions, 137 yards for 2 touchdowns in that Tampa Bay defense, who had a touchdown of their own, 2 interceptions, my bad, and only allowing 10 points. And a collective effort I want to just give a shout out to is the NFC East, because man, this division, I know I've said it a couple times, but it's pretty impressive how bad this division looks, man. I can't wait to see how this plays out through the rest of the season, because I'm gonna just say I think Philly wins it 6 wins. So that's all I got for this week, man. So be sure to like, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below. Make sure to follow us over on Instagram and Twitter. We do have a couple videos that we plan on getting out the rest of the week, including some predictions for week 7. And yeah, that's all I have, man. So with that, I'm out.